Oh, wait. Hold on.
You don't know what you are.
No, I don't.
5.
I know I do this. I should really pay more attention.
Cyborg versus robot.
Yeah, so I'm going to say something like, hi, I'm 5, pseudo-robot, and Love-Struck Teenagers mixtape.
Oh, that's endearing.
There
I
you
like that
go.
about you. And I'm Christa, and I'm a cyborg.
This week we're going to talk about Real Humans, episode 8, which is called Make Haste, and it is the last episode of this season directed by Levin Aiken.
That's right.
Written by our good pal
Lars Lundstrom. Thanks for the Twitter favorite, Lars.
Yeah. And,
it aired on one of my favorite dates.
oh, why is it one of your favorite dates?
March 4th.
Oh my god.
Right?
I hate you.
God, it's the best date.
And we're also going to talk about Robyn's song, Fembot.
That's right. We watched a music video.
We did. Hold on one second while I do what's happening here. Because we didn't take notes on this because we watched it right before recording. I want to call up the screen. So the reason that I wanted to watch Fembot is last episode we talked, and we've talked over and over about Tobey's headphones.
Yeah.
And
that he's not listening to any
He's
music.
not listening to anything. He has no music on his, no music posters on his walls. I did take a look at some of the CDs on his desk in the last episode. They are blank CDRs.
Oh, okay.
As best I can tell.
Huh.
But
because maybe he's making teenage mixtapes.
No, I don't. Well, I guess
he
downloads all his music.
He's all about the Swedish iTunes.
Because you know who has a lot of CDs in her house? Like a ton of them.
In Real Humans?
In Real Humans, which we see in this episode in the background.
Therese?
Yeah. Therese has piles of CDs on her.
Huh. She's slightly old. I mean, her generation would have bought CDs.
Mm-hmm.
Tobey is pirating and downloading.
So I was trying to imagine some Swedish pop groups that Tobey may listen to. And because he's now obsessing over Anita and struggling to find ways to express his love to her.
Oh, yeah.
I thought maybe he'd make her a mixtape, high fidelity style.
And maybe it would have Robyn's song Fembot.
Oh, totally.
Considering the line, once you go tech, you don't go back.
Yeah. Once you go tech,
I'd like to
you'll
see
never
the lyrics.
go back.
Yeah, that's right. And fembots have feelings too.
Mm-hmm.
I think he probably lies on the floor and listens to that song and thinks about how much it reminds him of Anita.
And we haven't heard we've heard not a ton of music is played in
There's
the
like
show.
one or two sourced songs each episode.
Yeah.
Only ever like background use.
Most of it is Richard
Yeah.
Birkin.
Every time.
Sorry for trashing your name.
The composer.
Who does increasingly lovely work. I like, as the show progresses, I've liked the music more and more. But I still wanted to know what Tobey would listen to when I
So you're looking at Swedish bands.
Yeah.
I mean, but Robyn
and ones
is
that
so
I knew
like
just...
hugely internationally successful. I mean, there must be Swedish bands that we don't know about that do well just in Sweden.
Well, yes, that's probably true. But
and we wouldn't know.
A lot of Swedish pop bands sing in English. And largely if you want to be successful overseas, internationally. Mm-hmm. So, ABBA.
Yeah.
Robyn. There's a couple of Swedish language pop groups, and if I'm feeling really inspired, maybe I'll make a little
like YouTube playlist?
Like a SoundCloud mix or Mixcloud or wherever I put it. I have accounts on both, so maybe I'll...
So you'll decide and you'll make a list.
Take up some of our SoundCloud space with a Tobey mixtape to Anita.
Cool. I think you should do that.
I think he would probably also have some English, like he would have some English language,
like bands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hoping he's cooler than he seems to be.
Well, if you're making the mixtape, you can make him cooler than he seems to be. You can
Yeah.
you can up the cool points for Tobe by creating.
I may
This
take a
mixtape.
look at see if I can track down some interviews with the actor and see what he likes. See if I can kind of blend it together. Anyway, so
So
Robyn,
I watched the video, not the most awesome video. There's some lovely parts in it, but then maybe they ran out of footage. I mean, the fluid running through the tubes, and she's dancing, and she's in a club, and she's gorgeous. And then it's cut with this like really low rent day in the life footage of like, now we're on the tour bus, and now we're
Yeah.
signing autographs.
when I was
makes
watching
no sense.
when I was watching it, I was thinking, oh well, maybe this is from one of her first albums, and it's not. It's from like her fifth.
Yeah, and they obviously had some money for the stylized stuff. Then they could have just stuck with that. It's sort of odd to have her. Now she's eating breakfast. And now she's at a photo shoot. Now she's wrapped in the plastic tubes again. And scene.
It seemed more like a making of a tour than a.
It's a weird mix. It's bookended by like stylized music video stuff. And then in between is the day in the life. It's
I
odd.
kind of wish
a good
somebody
song.
like our director from The Trail's End, which we talked about last week, took it upon himself to just make this video.
Yeah, there
It
are
would've been
talented
fantastic.
directors out there.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to talk a ton
No,
about
that's
this,
that.
Robyn, but it's.
But we watched
it was
that.
fun. And I know I have made you watch
And
Famillion
made you
videos.
watch is the
Famillion videos in
Thing.
the past.
as enforced.
The one made with the found footage from.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's cool.
that was a good video.
I'm not going to pronounce its name at all. Just it's by Famillion, and it's great.
We'll link to it, and
We'll link
then
to it.
that's all you need to know.
Something by them will be on my mixtape for sure.
And then you'll be like, "Oh, that's the one he was talking about."
Mm-hmm.
I get it now.
So I guess we can get straight to, because we're gonna have a ton of time to talk about the episode Make Haste.
Yeah, make haste because this is episode 8 and things are wrapping up. Everything is coming together. I even realized, like, when I looking at taking notes by character, like before I used to have like 8 different sections, and now it's like the Engmans and Leo are kind of one plot line.
Yeah.
And Roger and Bia and the Rogues are all one. They're all in the same house, and it's all happening there. So things are like.
They're coming together. They're getting smaller, except for things that have completely not tied in at all so far, like Leonard and Solveig.
Leonard's off somewhere else. We don't see him this
who is
episode,
not seen in
actually.
this episode.
Yeah. Sorry?
Oh, I was going to say it's nice to see the return of one of our other characters, although that causes a problem for me.
Which character? Ava?
Ava.
Jonas?
But I'll talk about that when we get to that. Let's
Because we hadn't
get
seen
into
Jonas either, and he's back in this episode.
Oh, right. We didn't see him last episode?
No, I don't think so.
Which makes sense.
Well, because we knew he was bombed.
Yeah. And we find out the timeline roughly from the beginning of the show to this
Yes,
episode.
we do, which was helpful.
It's helpful, but it also... Oh, let's wait for the siren to pass. Do, 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 do. I should just move. Record in place.
If there's any reason that you guys should move.
Yeah, it's for the sirens.
Yeah.
But the... See? It's exactly what... Okay, let's just skip ahead. This is distracting. So we'll go right to the opening where Malta arrives. Where we left the episode, where Malta arrives knocking on Roger's door. They do a slight rewrite of the scene, which they seem to have been doing in previous episodes as well.
Yeah.
And he wants to go down to the basement, although this time he's not getting bomb equipment, he's just getting his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Bea tries to distract him by offering him a beer,
Yep.
and then he starts freaking out.
Yeah, you know how last time we were saying, like, oh, it seems like he's in a better place. He's kind of calmed down. That was a brief moment of reprieve for Malta. Because he starts freaking out and ends up just kind of pushing his way into the basement. And Roger says, let him go.
Well, yeah, he's... I think he says something like, have a wonderful time together and don't give a shit about me. Freaks out, runs, pushes past Bea, goes down to the basement, and Roger says, I need a beer.
Yeah.
And then Malta down in the basement puts a gun in his mouth. He's gonna...
Yeah.
Which he does have guns. We have seen...
He has lots to choose from.
Yeah. He could have brought. I think it would have been. Could have brought his missile launcher to put in his mouth. It would have been harder to get past.
Hard to get past the people at the door. We see the Hubot stirring in the background, and then it cuts back to the kids upstairs, and we hear a gunshot.
Well, Bea runs down into the cellar before we hear the gunshot.
Oh, you're right. So for a second, we're wondering who's been shot. But it seems like no one's been shot. Because then when they reveal it, Niska is standing there holding the gun.
Yeah.
And Malta's on the ground. And when Roger comes down, Bea's holding the gun. And that's when it cuts to the credits. But no one actually got shot? So did Niska take the gun and, like, shoot the floor?
I think it probably went off when she grabbed the gun from his hand.
Okay.
So
they don't show us.
There's probably a hole.
There were no injuries. There
probably
was
a hole in a
gunfire,
wall,
but no
the floor,
injuries.
And the police never come. I don't know if a gun.
No one in the neighborhood apparently reports hearing
And they live in a
gunfire.
sunburn. So they live in a sunburn, is what I was going to say. They live in a suburb. If a gunshot goes off in a suburb,
gunshot is very commonplace in sunburns.
I mean, I heard. I was doing some editing of this show actually really late at night, and I was pausing, and I heard some gunshots down the street. Opened up the window to try and see what was going on. Nothing. No sirens ever came.
Did you call?
I had no idea where it was from. It was like somewhere in the city. A gun went off. Like I couldn't even tell the
You're
direction.
like, this is an anonymous tip.
I'm rather high up.
Yes, so it would be hard to
it's hard to pinpoint where things come from. I could guess it would be within a 6-block radius. Sometimes sound travels so well, as some of the podcast listeners will note.
My fire alarm went off this morning. I was in the shower, and I'd never heard, like, the building fire alarm.
Oh, okay.
And I'd never heard it before.
That's exciting.
Well, at first I didn't know what was going on, and then, when you hear a fire alarm and you think, really? Like, I just got out of the shower. Do I need to leave my house? And then what I learned about my new home, which is something to talk about, à la Bonnie Raitt, except that's not what she was talking about. And then there's like a building-wide intercom. There was suddenly like a voice in my home that was like, "Attention, residents, this is the fire department. We're investigating." And I was like, "Oh my god! I live in a place where there's like mass messaging."
We have that too.
That's a thing.
Yeah, we have that in this building. It's.
I've never lived somewhere. I mean, I've never really lived anywhere new. Like, I've never lived somewhere where I take an elevator.
It's not used for anything but.
Yeah, just those, like, emergencies.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard a voice over it, although it's certainly equipped for voice.
I was sort of alarmed. But, so no one calls the cops on the gunshot. You're absolutely right.
When we get back to them, Malta is sitting on the couch between Roger
and he's freaking out. He is really in a bad way. He's saying, "I fucked a Hubot. I can't stand hating myself. I hate
he threw
myself."
up on himself.
Yeah,
like this was the result of him sleeping with a Hubot made him throw up on himself. I wonder if it was while he was sleeping with the Hubot.
Oh,
which of course I compared to our brunch waitress yesterday. Now I feel bad.
Good.
But
no more associating
the
sex bot with the brunch waitress. Okay? Enough?
Yeah.
Well, which is to say that's where the associations end.
Yeah, it ends.
Yeah, it ends. It's over.
She's a lovely young woman. I'm sure no one's throwing up on her.
Oh my. Okay.
Probably didn't need
it's
to
something
be
not
said.
at the restaurant because it's a tasty place.
I'm going to stop. I'm going to move on.
Thank you, 5.
Roger, they end up having the discussion. I know there's the, he's freaking out. They make him drink, and they make him drink.
What do they give him to drink?
They're giving him...
Because there's a lot of drinking in this episode.
There's a ton. They're giving him Glenfiddich Special Old Reserve.
Oh, okay.
And there are a million Glenfiddichs, but it is definitely that one.
All right.
Which you can't get anymore.
No?
So, at least as best I can tell, you
2012.
can't get that.
So they're giving him something to drink. They go into the kitchen, and Bea, in her Hubot way, is like, if he wants to die, I'll let him die. Like, let's just do this.
And he just
Roger's
looks at her.
He's like, no, that would be inhuman, and he's a friend, and we take care of our friends. So they offer Malta a place to stay. They put him to bed.
Do you think Roger, one of the reasons Roger likes Bea, Now, Teresa was quite independent, and Bea seems quite independent, but she's just completely out of touch when it comes to certain things, like emotionally.
As far as like the people Roger's attracted to?
She just does not understand how people work.
No.
But I wonder if that's one of the reasons Roger is attracted to her, is because he feels like, oh, she needs him, and perhaps attributes her weird opinions on just that she's younger.
I think so.
So they invite Malta to stay.
Yeah.
And there's this lovely part where Roger says, well, you can take my bed. And Malta asks where Roger will sleep.
He says, next to you.
Next to you, it's wide. So we know that Roger and Bea have not been sharing a bed.
Malta doesn't say, but what about Bea? It's just like,
no.
All right, I'll sleep with you, Roger, and we won't worry about where she sleeps.
Well, he's been hitting that Glenfiddich.
Yeah.
And then as Roger's dragging him out of the room, he says to Roger, someone took my gun. And Roger, also drunk Malta, saying, Bea took your gun. Mm-hmm. And he says, it wasn't Bea, it was someone else. Now, if Malta is taking any sort of medication, he should not be mixing it with alcohol.
No, I think it's probably ill-advised.
No.
This might be part of one of his many problems that is contributing to his unstable mental health.
So
I'm not a doctor. Not making a diagnosis.
I have watched a lot of doctors on TV. So I feel pretty confident about my ability to TV doctor.
And in turn, TV diagnose TV characters.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Are we going to stick with these kids?
Yeah, let's stick with these kids, because they got... I think it's pretty...
So everything, as far as it's happening in this house, Roger and Bea, the rogues are in the basement. So there's some conversations with the rogue gang and Bea downstairs. Niska's getting antsy. She wants to get going. She needs things to be happening. They want to find Leo.
She wants to free Leo, which I think seems to differ from her opinion in the last show, that she would just let him die. Although I'm not sure she needs to necessarily free him. I think she just wants what's in his head.
Yeah, she does. Because I feel like in this episode, like, Niska's kind of our villain. I mean, we've always known she's
been
dark.
our villain.
Yeah,
whole show.
But now it's like maybe in an even bigger way as far as what she's orchestrating.
They do some character establishment, which we understand a bit of the Niska David Eicher dynamic and what happened there. But they basically talk about, Niska doesn't seem to think that Bea is capable of getting Roger to love her, and I'm not sure what the reason for that is, because he doesn't have a job anymore. They just want his house, and I think maybe it's
well, because first Niska says, like, can't we just kill them? And Fred says, no more unnecessary killing. Where does that get us? Bea says, we have to have a living host. We have to be living among humans. This is what I've learned. People will get suspicious. And then it's sort of like, well, this is the way to do it. That, like, I have to have him. He has to love me for this to work. And sweet, moody Gordon, who's been kind of, has had the blues lately. Someone asked Bea, does he love you? And she says, I think so.
Oh, that's Fred.
Right.
Fred
and
asks,
like, you think so. And then Gordon says, well, maybe he's in love.
Which I think that's one of those translation things. And I think what Gordon's actually talking about is maybe it's a crush.
Well,
like, crush is
I liked how
definitely-
it was. I liked the translation that he said maybe he's in love. Fred says, what's the difference? And Gordon says, in love is fleeting. It can end in a summer. Whereas if you love someone, perhaps it's more lasting.
Yeah, but those are the same words.
But the different meaning. I'm with Gordon on this one.
Okay. I took it as meaning a crush.
Sure.
And a crush can be fleeting, and it may only last a summer.
Absolutely.
And Niska just wants to kill people.
Yeah. There's a few funny... This episode
She has this great part where they talk about Bea, about people noticing even the smallest changes in their communities. Mm-hmm. And Niska says that they could kill Roger and we can stuff him and put him in the window. Mm-hmm. And then there's this long pause. And then that was a joke, she says, and then just smiles.
This big, giant, unnatural smile.
That's going to be the image for the episode. Totally. Just so you
And then Marilyn laughs.
Oh, yeah.
Really like
in her only line in the episode.
Marilyn never speaks, and this sudden little, like, she laughs at the joke, and it's startling. And it's a comic moment in the episode, and I found this episode actually had a few, like, comic relief moments that it doesn't usually. There's not usually, like, humor. Like, characters do endearing things, and we find things charming.
Yeah.
But there's a sort of couple funny little, like, moments. And that, to me, that was one where Niska does the big grin, and Marilyn laughs, and it's awkward.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't found this show I haven't found it terribly funny in most moments.
No.
But. So
Bea goes on about how love has kept humans together for thousands of years, and this is how we've got to work it.
It's the only force that makes them endure or defend anything.
But it's a very grand speech.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gordon says, well, could he love you for who you really are? You're a Hubot.
This is after Niska asks, will you have sex with him?
Right.
And this is another... Okay, I will agree that there's the humor part for the will you have sex with him? And then Bea says, yes, I know how it's done.
Well, because Niska says, have you done it before?
Did you ever watch Faulty Towers?
Yes.
That's all I thought of. Will you have sex? Yes, I know how it's done.
And Niska does a little, like, virgin shaming. Because she's like, if there's one thing that's going to give it away, it's going to be that. It's going to be that you don't know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh.
Which...
I don't know if that's fair.
I don't know if that's terribly fair either.
No. But Niska's a meanie.
Maybe a little.
But the first time with any new lover, I mean, you know...
Sure.
Roger would understand.
Roger would probably...
He would be like, oh, you young thing who doesn't... You don't know the ways of... Anyways. So... Right. Gordon, what's happening? Where are we?
We're sticking with Roger.
Bea's back upstairs. It's breakfast.
Beans and meatballs for breakfast.
Beans and meatballs for breakfast. And Bea has been contemplating what Gordon said. Like, maybe he could love you for who you really are. And because Roger says, do you ever eat? And she says, no. And it's like, and I don't sleep. And would you still love me? Would you still like me? And she's like, what if I were battery operated? Would you still like me? And he's like, yeah. And then she goes, what if I were a Hubot? Would you still like me? And he says, no, not that. And then there's a pause, and then he says, I love you. Which is my Swedish phrase of the week, by the way.
Okay, let's hear it.
Jalske.
Jalske?
It's spelled Jalske day, but according to the internet, you don't pronounce the D, Jalske.
Oh, there you go.
3 words. And this is the first I love you. That's like, which is a pivotal moment in a relationship. They were a really
sweet time because Roger just thinks he's being ridiculous. He's being like an older man who's got this younger woman in his house, and he's just falling for her because he's lonely. And that's when she kisses him, and then he's like, "I'll go for it," and she pushes him away.
Yeah, and she touches the back of her neck because she is like, worried about the Hubot reveal. And they have this thing where he's like, why did you kiss me if you're going to stop me? And she's like, I'm worried about what you'll think of who I really am. And he was like, I'm going shopping.
And as he's leaving, Bea does her last ditch, I love you too.
Yeah. And she gazes out the window and has a flashback.
Well, I like what Roger says when he leaves.
Oh, what did he say?
He says, if you have something to say about who you are, just say it. We can't really get any further until you...
Yeah.
Tell me this thing.
But he's saying it as he's walking out of the door. So it's like, it's saying, you can just tell me, but not right now. That's
well, he knows she's not going to say it. He knows she's not going to say it there. He's just, he asked her to think about it.
Yeah.
And just, like, basically, you need to figure out what you want. And what you want means you telling me whatever this thing is about who you are.
Yeah.
And then we get Bea's flashback.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Well, I did write it in all caps on my page. You should,
because we get our flashback within a flashback as well. That's right. In this one.
Yeah. Double whammy flashback.
Mm-hmm.
So it's David Eischer's lab, and
he has ordered a Hubot that looks like his drowned wife. And I guess it's within only a few months.
Yeah, because when we see Leo, he still has the, like, doesn't have the hair And his hair still hasn't grown over his scar, so it's still not long
Within
after.
6 months of...
Yeah, that he's ordered a Hubot body that looks just like his wife, Beatrice.
So he's in the middle of liberating this Hubot.
And he can't go through with it.
I think he rightly comes to the decision, this is a creepy thing.
Yeah, or at least he's overwhelmed. He stops, I think, does he say, I can't do this? He goes outside for a breather, which is then has the flashback, and a flashback where he recalls the day that she drowned. He's crying. Which
we've seen a lot. We didn't need that reminder. But
that scene, no. Yeah. But it's
nice to have. It didn't bother me.
No.
So that is when Niska tells Fred to stand by the door and basically don't let David Aisher back in. She takes over the programming.
But first, she says to Beatrice, who wakes up, or when they...
Right.
Before she takes over the programming, she says, I'm Niska. Because Beatrice wakes up and asks for Niska. And she says, I'm Niska.
Okay.
Remember? What are you saying? Okay.
No, you're talking around this. So
like you've never heard this before.
This is news.
This is news.
I've seen the episode.
I know. I was there. And Niska says, you are going to go join the humans. You are going to prepare, and then you will come and find us, or we'll come and
after
find
we
you.
leave here.
After we leave here. So she goes to do some, and then I'm sorry, I'm not speaking well.
We have
so it's
they do the liberating. There's the seizure moment. And
there's the seizure moment.
David walks in, kind of a little confused about what's going on. He was not anticipating.
He doesn't stop them.
The reason he doesn't stop them is because Leo comes in and sees his mom,
right,
and wants to go and talk to her. So
Leo has to deal with that.
David has to deal with that.
Sorry,
David drags Leo away. And then we see Flash give Bea her coat.
They give Bea a trench coat and some cash, and she goes and gets on a bus.
Mm-hmm. And which there's a really nice shot of a wide shot of the bus with a little placard on the side which says "Koop din van voor livet," which means "buy a friend for life." And I probably said that very wrong. But I like that little.
It's a nice little Hubot ad in situ, especially since that would have been maybe early days of the Hubots. If that's at least 10 years ago.
It would have been.
How old is Leo now?
I'm gonna guess he's probably around 29 or 30, 26.
So almost like 15 years ago.
15 years ago. And I got the sense that, well, we find out David Aisher split from his partner. The older Boberg.
The business partner,
They were business partners, and they split, one to continue research and one to...
start HubMart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The flashback ends with the bus and back to present day, Bea gazing out the window. At which point she goes and switches the bottle in Sleeping Malta's hand with... some
royalty vodka.
Oh, really?
That's what it's called.
Because she just wants him to keep drinking, or she's poisoned it?
Well, she may have poisoned it. It's unclear, but she gives him a full bottle of something called royalty vodka. That's all.
Another one of the multiple booze shots in this episode.
Yeah.
This is different.
Well, you know where we're headed next, as Roger gets home to candles and rose petals.
Yes, so Roger returns to the house with flowers of his own for his lady, and follows the candlelit path into the living room where
we're hearing some music.
Yeah,
which that was sort of the prompt that led me down this hole.
Swedish music.
Swedish music. It's an English language song, but it's very likely performed by a Swedish artist. And we get to see her port.
Yes,
we haven't seen a port in this show.
We get a nice armpit shot with the port and power slot.
The court.
She's lying on the ground. She's lying on the ground. That doesn't really frame it right.
She's doing a little sexy pose.
Yeah. And she's plugged in. So she's lying there looking inviting.
Yeah.
And but also giving this reveal of that she's plugged in, and he walks in, and
he drops everything in his hands.
Yeah.
she says, it's just me, and his response to it is just me is, what the hell was that?
Yeah. But she convinces him.
Well, she says she's not like other Hubots, and she doesn't love him because she was told to or programmed to.
She chose to.
She chose him, and asks if he hates her now. He hesitates and says no, and then they have this weird, do you want to touch my cord?
Oh my god, I love that part. There's this close-up of where she, like, holds it out in front of her, and yeah, do you want to feel it?
And their hands, and her hands
meet and clasp around it. I like that part because it's like, you know.
So we know where that's going.
She's like, this thing that's different. Touch it.
So we see when we next see them, Roger's back in his robe,
in his flannel robe that we're so fond of. It's like the morning after.
Morning after. Bea's plugged in the kitchen.
Yep, and Malta comes in, looking pretty rough.
Yeah, this is after Roger's sort of, he's still coming to grips with this.
Oh, right. He's like, I don't know how to piece this together.
Because he doesn't know why she was an Äkta människor.
What? And she said, I just want to be one of you.
She says, I'm in you, you are in me, and it doesn't get more alive than that. Which,
And let's be together forever. And he's like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Like, another moment of Roger freaking out. Of Malta freaking out at Roger. That actor is fantastic at freaking out.
The guy who plays Malta?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does it well.
Of course,
We don't.
Oh, yeah,
I
got it here. Jimmy Lindstrom.
Yes.
Is fantastic at doing this.
He's great in that role.
Mm-hmm.
He comes in, he sees Bea plugged in.
And throws up.
Yeah, he throws up in the sink. Yeah, I wrote down, sees plug, pukes his guts out, and then I don't know what, I can't read.
Well, the rest of it ends the show, so we'll...
All right, so let's pause at the puking.
And then we'll go back to...
The other people who the people who open the episode after the credits are Therese and Pilar.
Right.
Who are drinking red wine. Did you know which wine that is?
They are drinking Lan Reserva, which is a Spanish wine, and you can get Crianza in the LCBO.
Right.
So you can, if you're watching this episode...
That's our suggested pairing for our Ontario listeners. And we will add it to the menu for our Real Humans party. It's now our party, because I'm going to need some help throwing that. It was my party, but I've now assigned you some tasks.
Teresa and Pilar are drinking wine, and they're talking about how strange their Hubots
have been lately. And they say, let's go out on our own without them.
Yeah. So Rick and Beau walk in, and to underscore Rick's new behavior, Rick sits down, immediately grabs Teresa's tits.
Yeah. Gropes her.
Just starts feeling her up at the breakfast table.
Except it's dinner and they're having wine.
Oh,
or
right.
it's like late night drinks.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, we've seen them have breakfast at the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird... another time and place, maybe that grab would be the right thing to do, but it's not cool if your friends are over.
All right, I'm going to leave you to that. They have a slight argument about whether to go out or not, and Rick tries to convince them to let them come with.
Rick gets angry.
Or stay in. Yeah, well, he has if you go out alone, Beau and I can go out alone too.
Yeah.
And who's arguing? Like, he's claiming that he's not. And so Teresa just gently reaches over, strokes his face, and then just reaches under his arm.
Turns him off. Powers it down.
And then there's a really cute moment with Beau.
Yeah.
Who has now taken over the sweet Hubot of my heart from Max.
Aww.
Because he's adorable.
He's very cute.
And he says, as Pilar gets up to turn him off, he backs away and he says, but I didn't say anything.
I know.
He gets turned off.
I'm glad that part of your heart has been filled again.
Yeah, me too. And Teresa says, they'll get over it. She's fine. So they go out and they have a good time, which we don't see.
But we can guess. Well, the next morning, she powers him back up, and he's pissed off.
He gives her the silent treatment.
He has a moment with Kevin where Kevin's on his way to school and says, shut up. And he's like, what did you say to me? And Kevin goes to hit him. Rick stops him. Kevin says, you're sick. And he says, I can't get sick. And then he continues to be pissed off at Therese, who comes in to the room.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, well, you can come to work with me or not. And he says, fine, I'll come.
So she does. They have this nice little back and forth where Rick says this to Therese. He says, how would you feel if I threatened to turn you off if you made a mistake?
Yeah.
And she retorts with, I don't have a switch. As if, what a dumb question. And he says, and I'm an appliance because I do have a switch. I thought that was... It gives a little bit of some...
Rick's good for lines like that. Like when he had the, like, just because we didn't come from a womb, we're not motorcycles. Like, he's pretty good with the...
and we've definitely seen the difference
comparisons.
And we've definitely seen the difference between Leo's work with unlocking the Hubots and...
Whoever was doing it before. Or even Luther's unlocking. / Silas.
Right. Who we don't see in this episode either.
No.
We're missing a lot of folk. But there's a lot going on, so it makes sense that this is happening.
So
that's pretty well. They go to the gym.
Yeah, so they go to work where Pilar and Beau are talking, and she's saying, I don't know what is up with him. And Pilar says, sometimes the things that we've done to them, they go sideways. I read about it in blogs. And we hear a bit of English language in our Swedish show where Therese refers to Rick as a pain in the ass in English.
Oh, does she?
Yeah. And then she shows Pilar that she's received a notice from Hubot Provningen that she's going to have a Hubot inspection.
So Pilar has gotten a similar letter. Which I am guessing that the lawyer representing the nightclub turned them in.
Just turned them in. In the background, Rick and Beau, because they see that...
They see some young girls leaving the gym. How young would you say they are? I would say about 15.
15 or 16?
Yeah.
Yeah, 15. And they because no one's watching, Rick suggests they sneak out and they follow the teenage girls to the mall, where he asks for a hug of this girl, and then in the moment that he hugs her, like grabs her ass and pulls her really tight, and she pushes him away. He continues to chase them. Beau gives up. He's like, I'm going back. Until
we see him later on a median holding his cord out.
Yeah,
which is under the wrong arm. This cord is coming out from underneath the right side of his body.
Holding it around from his back or something?
No, it is coming out from the wrong side.
All right. So, maybe they flipped the shot. Yeah,
they may have flipped the shot.
His battery's dying, and he conks out on a median on a highway. So I'm glad the girls...
they couldn't have flipped the shot because of the direction.
The traffic?
Could they have done that with direction of traffic? Yeah.
We can revisit that. Later, Therese has to pick up Rick at Rehab, which seems to be like if your car gets towed. It's like an impound lot. Oh,
when Beau was back at the gym explaining all of this to Teresa and Pilar, I really, really liked. He's doing this little kid kind of explaining the story. Like, I'm telling you everything I can so I don't get in trouble. And when he's still getting in trouble, he responds with, you shouldn't have turned us off yesterday.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cute.
It is cute. Mm-hmm. As a way of sort of like justifying, like, this is what happens.
Yeah.
You turned us off. Wow. The last scene we have of these guys in the episode is Rick sitting on the edge of the bed, and Teresa, who's clearly, they've had a talk. She's told him about the inspection, obviously, and she says, I might end up having to turn you over. They might shut you off for good. How would you get by?
Because he asks if... he says to her, if you're tired of me, just let me go.
Right. And then I love this line. She says, how would you get by out there? And he says, I'm quite good looking. Like, that's all it takes.
But then she just brings him down a notch by saying, you're a Hubot and I own you. Yeah. And she hands him his pamphlet and says, you weren't the cheapest model, but...
Yeah.
You know.
Remember who you were?
Yeah, you think you're attractive, but you're like mid-range.
You're not all that.
Yeah, you were like a 6 tops, which basically is what you say.
Which he does seem to take to heart a little bit, and he says, well, do what you want, just don't turn me off.
Mm-hmm. So we're seeing a little bit of humanity in Rick.
A little bit. He's still a douche.
Yeah, but I'm getting to...
What with the groping the teenage girl?
With the groping the teenage girl, but at least they're showing... And he's only really been a freed for a few weeks, and we know that this model has some problems.
Yeah. Boundaries.
The erotic chip and boundaries and what's okay and what isn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm hopeful that Rick can turn it around and
so?
realize the error of his ways.
Okay.
I really like the performance.
Yeah.
That Johannes Bakunka.
Great.
Let's try that. Try that one. See if you can say that.
Where? Who plays Rick?
Johann-
Johannes BK. We call him Johannes
BK. That worked good.
That's what he goes by.
Mm-hmm.
Great actor.
So, what else is happening in this episode? Oh, Tobey is coming. Tobey is trying to...
Dear Tobey.
He's trying to resist his urges. He's gone to the movies with Ape, or Appa.
Appa, which is a short form of Apollina, apparently.
I really liked her. She's played by
very cute.
Sarah Lingerholm, and she was in this movie called 1,000 Times Stronger in 2010. And I just, her performance is
She's
so
adorable.
nuanced.
Yeah.
I knew she would be in something else, and she had been in this other movie.
That makes sense.
Which has good ratings, so maybe worth checking out.
And she walks him home after the movie, I guess, and they kiss outside the house, and there's the really cute Hans dad moment, his awkward moment of the episode. Hans
As they're kissing,
he comes out with the garbage and then like quickly shuffles himself back in. I feel like every episode there's something where Hans, or anytime we see the Engmans, there's like a moment where he's like the awkward, uncomfortable dad, and the moment where he's a really good dad. Because it's like, and in this he's like, he's both at all times. Yeah, he's both at all times.
And when Tobey goes back in the house after this awkward kissing,
oh, there you are.
Yeah, oh, there you are, Tobey. Just the garbage.
Doo-dee-doo.
He does not do the like, no, but that's what I feel. It's there in my head.
I saw it as well.
And he even awkwardly walks, but he's trying to catch.
And he's kind of looking down the street trying to see who the girl is.
Who's this lady?
The next morning at breakfast, Toby's still like when he makes eye contact with Anita, smiles warmly at her. He's still feeling the feelings. And Hans gives him this, like, oh, so who is the girl, and would she like to come in for tea? And
he reveals her character's name as Ape, and
Hans is like,
Apollonia. We'll go with that. He calls her that, which Tobey does not even necessarily know that that's her name.
Oh no, I think Tobey offered that as her name.
But he wasn't sure. He's like,
right. He's like, yeah, maybe that's her name. Yeah, you're right.
And he says that Hans says he could have had her in for tea, and then he wiggles in his chair and raises his eyebrows like,
yeah,
wink, wink, nudge, nudge, know what I mean?
But then makes it a little more clear and says, well, no one's going to be home tonight.
Oh, yeah.
If you
he lays it out.
Yeah, he lays it out. And he's like, if you and she want to do some homework and stuff, then he gives Tobey a couple condoms.
Yeah.
That's a good dad move. Yeah.
Except he's not just saying be safe. He's like, you should do it. And this is, I think, because of he's noticed that glance between...
Right. I think he's also probably like, okay, good. Gonna help Tobey move on.
Gonna help him not be in love. He's preventing him from being technosexual.
Right.
Which I think we were trying to search for a term, and
that's our term.
Came to me.
Good.
Because once you go tech, you can never go back.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Robyn knows.
Which is what I think Tobey should be listening to. He's probably listening to on repeat. That song about a woman in her 30s contemplating children, Fembot.
Yeah.
As we all know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what Robyn has shared the song was inspired by. The turn my switches on bitches was apparently inspired by her contemplating childbearing years.
Ah, yeah. There you go. So Tobey gives it a shot, right? That's basically where we get with Tobey.
Oh, it's a disappointing aftermath. It just cuts to the two of them looking very unhappy, half naked, sitting on the bed, and she says, "Is it me?" Oh, Ape, we like you so much. Mm-hmm. It's not you, it's him.
And I did wonder why she didn't ask if he was gay.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
They get there, they're making out, they're clearly doing the making out part, because they get to the point where they're not really wearing much in the way of clothing.
Knickers.
She says, "Is it me?" He says, "No, it's me." The line I would have expected, instead of "I don't get why you wanted to see me," would be, "Are you gay?"
Why would you expect that? Is that the go-to?
It would be the, like, if you're a teenage boy and you're, like, weird and acting awkward.
Oh. Well, we know that there's lots of reasons why he
And
doesn't
he
go
says
through
it's
with it.
not her.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't go there, but
No.
she is sort of confused and feeling rejected and says, I really liked you, and I'm not cheap, and...
And fuck you if you spread shit.
Yeah, don't talk shit about me, I'm outie. Later, dear Tobe decides to share his feelings with Anita. I liked that scene because I also, when I need to have a serious conversation with someone, I suggest that we talk in the bathroom.
Yeah. Well, the garage is where his mom talks. He doesn't,
Right.
you know, he can't do that.
Yeah, that's what his parents do. They have serious talks in the garage. So he decides to have the serious talk with Anita in the bathroom and says, I like you. I like you too, Tobe. I like you a lot. And he says he's in love. And what do you say to that? And she says, I don't know. And he says, I don't know either.
And she raises her hand and they have a little hugging moment, and
She pats him on the back because she's giving him the, like, nanny who bought treatment where she's like, they're there.
And Tobe says, I don't want to be like this. Which is a little sad moment.
Yeah.
I almost called him Tobot.
Tobot. Whole other kind of
Whole
robot.
other thing. We're not tearing through this very quickly.
Our other Angmans and Leo.
Well, the rest I think all kind of goes together because Carl,
Ove.
Yeah, now the beginning of
Jonas.
that sort of arc starts with Jonas. Who we have not seen him since the bombing of the Hubot market, which the headline says the bombing at Hubot market, one person was injured, which means there's no mention of Leo in any of the newspapers.
No.
It's just Jonas Boberg.
Well, because Leo fled the scene.
And Jonas Boberg is being carried in by his assistant butler Hubot, who puts a burn mask on him.
Yes. How do you feel about the decor at Jonas's place?
It just looked like an IKEA or a veranda. May 2000.
Is there like
May,
a bouquet
June
of
2011.
roses and a ceramic leopard?
Yeah, I think Flash would have liked it. I think that it looks unlived in, which is what Flash likes.
A bit austere, other than the odd accents.
I think Flash would look beyond Jonas Boberg's recent injuries to live in that house.
Yeah, you're right.
So
Well, maybe that's down the road.
He's getting a burn mask put on him. Now, I looked this up. Did you know the burn mask was invented in 1977 by an occupational therapist at Regents Hospital in St. Paul, Minnesota, named Liz Rivers. It was first made with plastics that were used on snow machine windshields. And the reason that they do that is the mask
Is it therapeutic? Like, does it treat the skin?
What it does is you fit it tightly on the skin and it prevents the shrinking of the skin. So that it heals better. It should be clear. It's kind of semi-opaque in this. And they're worn for 1 to 2 years. So.
That's intense. Burns are rough. And he is badly burned.
He's terribly burned. And must be in a fuck ton of pain.
Yeah. A metric fuck ton.
So he's wearing his mask now, and he reaches for his phone after kicking his Hubot and throwing the mirror that the Hubot is giving, like, here's how your mask looks. And he wants a private meeting with Carl. But we see that Carl is with Ava.
Yes.
And this is the part that drove me crazy, because a couple of episodes we saw Ava running through a field after Niska had been holding a knife to her throat.
Yes.
And I think this reveal would have been incredibly powerful had we not seen her running through the field, because we wouldn't have known for 2 episodes.
This whole time we would have wondered if she died or not.
Yeah.
That's true.
In my own version of the show, I would just cut that scene out.
Okay.
So that I could have this reveal. If I'm showing that to anybody else, I'm gonna cut that scene out.
Are you?
Of the running through the field, just so they can you can cheer on Ava appearing, who looks like Lily Taylor.
She sure does. I think so as well.
And Lily Taylor was in a show called Almost Human. which is about android police people.
Is it?
Which is probably one of the reasons that they are changing the name of real humans to just humans.
Right. And there's already the being humans.
For the English.
Ava reveals that she and Osa have broken up.
Yep.
That chain of events was too much for the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And she's identifying the rogue bots to Carl.
Through sketches.
Yeah.
And she thinks they're going to track her down. And that knowing that those Hubots are out there just disgusts her.
Yes.
I would not be surprised if she joins the Äkta människor movement.
She might be Malta's next buddy.
Right, because yeah.
Later, the other time we see Jonas in this episode, he and Carl meet. They do the old car window pull up.
Yeah. I have some info about that.
Great. This is why I can lie down and let you talk.
This is for you. I did this for our Real Humans tour.
Oh yeah?
This parking lot.
Our tour of Sweden
is located at Regeringsgatan 55. 11156 Stockholm. And it's near an H&M.
Cool. So
yeah.
we're gonna go to the parking lot and then we're gonna go buy some cheap clothes.
There was enough information.
Is H&M originally Swedish? It's originally kind of Scandinavian.
I have no idea. They pull up on the bridge and there was a little sign and I was able to just do a Google Street View.
From there?
Street View and find it.
Fantastic.
And I know it's the parking lot.
I am so looking forward to that vacation.
This is going to be great.
It's going to be a great trip.
This is where we will sit in this parking lot and we will drink, I guess, the Glenfiddich and the royalty vodka.
And the wine.
I don't know. Just in this weird parking lot.
And we'll rent cars.
With, of course, our listeners who are also going to be willing to travel to Sweden.
Yeah, this is a bus tour.
Our Real Humans tour with us.
Yeah.
I thought it would be a walking tour. Like a long walking tour.
Of Stockholm.
Of Stockholm.
Yes.
No stopping for bathrooms. No breaks.
Oh.
No breaks.
No breaks. Keep going.
So anyway,
because it's also going to sort of be like Amazing Race.
Oh yeah.
There'll be like someone will survive. There'll be winners.
You have to get the code.
There'll be a lot of losers. You have to get the code.
Or
maybe just all losers.
You have to. This tour is going to be all losers.
The losers we like, though. The kind of losers we like.
Anyway, Jonas Boberg is meeting with Carl.
Window to window. And gives us good. It's another moment of like exposition.
It's good exposition.
Like, here's what's been happening.
He's like, you need to find this code, which I know you know about. I'm the only person that knows what it looks like, and you're the only person who has the resources to find these people.
Because he says, I know about it because my father and David, work together, and then this is where they reveal. He says, David, which we've suspected, David went to do his own research.
Yep.
His dad, Boberg Sr., we don't know his first name, do we? Went on to make Hubmart. And he says that the code, that David sent parts of the code to his father in letters. And that only he would know that. And Carl says, well, do you have the letters? And Jonas is like,
He just doesn't respond.
And Carl says, until you have something, I'd rather not see you. And then...
He says, in every way.
Yeah.
So he's just...
This is the burn victim.
He's like, I don't want to see your burned up face.
Yeah.
He's not a nice man.
Not a nice man. And I think he maybe feels like Jonas is wasting his time.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's sort of tempting him, saying, I can help you, but he doesn't really have any concrete assistance to offer.
Nope. None at all. And I guess at the same time that this is happening, Matilda has been called by her mother.
Well, the first time we see Inga in this episode is she's on the phone saying, I'm going to go to the media, what's happening.
With Henning standing in the background. And the first time we see Leo is with our Dr. Oldos, yeah. And which they mentioned that not even the decomposition of his body killed him.
Yeah, because she's treating him or talking to him. He asks for his lawyer. She runs into Carl outside the room and says, he's asking for his lawyer and what you're doing is wrong. She says he's not gonna die quickly. Like this is And
Carl asks how to speed it up.
Yeah, and
which
then
is
and
basically
she answers,
remove his head,
cut his head
crack
off,
open
take the brain
skull.
out.
Yeah, gross.
And then she says, "Why are you doing this?" And he said, "We need the computer in his brain. It's the one thing that's going to prevent a major human catastrophe."
Mm-hmm.
And there's that line where he says, imagine a world with no humans to cry about. And she says,
"Oh yeah,
who's crying?" Like,
yeah, she's
got a hard edge herself.
pretty cool.
But we like that about her.
Ove comes in and expresses that there's a little bit of a problem,
Which is another little comic moment where he's like, "Okay, another problem."
Which we know who the problem is. It's Inger.
Yeah.
Inger's stirring shit up because they're the next time we see Inger and Henning are in the office, and Henning is yelling at her because she said she was going to the media
and she's sworn to secrecy, and
Yeah.
she has risked the firm.
in the middle of yelling at her, he has to take this call, and then he lays into her that she's been disloyal and he should fire her right now, and then
Get out of your office.
as he's kicking her out, but he makes sure to mention,
Yeah.
"Oh, and I guess your client's still alive."
Right.
And that's when Inger says, "Who was that phone call from?" And he's like, "Me mama."
My mom. And
Yeah.
And then he has kind of a smile after she leaves the room because he knows he's given her some information that she can act on, but he hasn't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Like, he
I
knows-
have said, I have said that
Would you like to tell me how you're right and
I
I'm
was
wrong?
right and you were wrong about Henning being impressed by Inger's performance.
I still think there's a better way to do it than talk down to her all the time.
That is just good management.
Oh my god.
I don't believe that.
So awful.
But Inger ends up recruiting Matilda to take the day off work. She's going to help her. She's going to call in sick for her.
Yeah.
And get David Eicher's files from
Go
the
to the
National
archives.
Archives.
Where Matilda discovers when she calls her mom back that she says Leo and Beatrice, the son and wife of David, died. They drowned years ago, and that David commits suicide just 3 months ago. Which I think is where our series starts. And remember, you asked about where were the Hubots before the Rogue bots. When you asked where did they come from the first time we saw them break into the house? I think they must have just left.
Well, we do find out
the,
sometime in between.
Somewhere.
We found out at some point between the beginning that that's where they came from.
Do you think he commits suicide, or do you think Niska killed him?
I don't know. I don't think I've made a decision about that. I think Niska is definitely capable of killing him. Whether or not she did it, I have no idea. Mm-hmm. Because we haven't seen David Eicher in 10 years. We've only seen him. No,
but now we know he's been alive that whole time, but until 3 months ago. That his death is recent.
Unless he was stuffed and put in the window.
Right, which is maybe we're not sure. There's sort of nice parallel cuts happening as Matilda is saying Leo died. It cuts to present day Leo sitting up. And he's clearly not dead.
Inger finally gets her meeting with.
She gets a
Leo.
meeting. They're not being monitored. She's going to record the conversation with her phone. And there's a couple moments where he's saying, "You're in a hurry," and she's, "No, I'm not in a hurry." And he's like, "Well, you're in a hurry." And she's like, "Oh, no, we have time to talk." And he's like, "I'm going to tell you something, and you're going to know why you're in a hurry."
And I get the whole point of that scene is I think Leo says, "Even if I die, Mimi must be protected."
Yeah.
And in the earlier scene, Jonas Boberg expresses to Carl that you cannot lift this source code from
and also
from one of the Hubots. You have to have the original file in order to remove it, extract it.
Yes,
that's the word I'm looking for.
So he writes down a bit of code on a piece of paper. There's a little point of that while he's writing, he looks away.
Yeah.
And Inga notices it. And I think it was more because he's part computer, he's sort of like recalling the code and his hand is writing it down. He's not looking at the piece of paper as he writes it.
Okay.
And it was like a deliberate. I thought it was deliberate.
No, I don't know. It was probably deliberate. I'm just thinking, I can write things down without looking at the piece of paper.
That's because you're also part computer.
Maybe. So it's raining when Inger leaves the cell that they're holding Leo in.
She's outside, getting a cab.
And she gets bumped into by a guy, which I guess we know that he's either given her something or taken something from her.
Yeah, but when
it's a
she
little
gets
TV
home,
trope.
And she can't find her phone or her wallet.
Yeah, because she has to pay the cab. And Hans, per usual, wants to call the police. I think Hans has two roles in this, and it is either to call the police and report it, or get rid of the problem.
Or promote safe sex.
Yeah. Okay, you're right. He has 3 now. Sorry. Teresa says they have to get Anita to safety. And Tobey walks in and is like, why do we have to move Anita?
And Matilda's there, and they're all like, they're having the family, the Ingman kitchen, they're having a family moment. Like, what's going on?
And Hans, in response to Tobey's question, I don't understand a thing. Don't ask me.
Once again.
Yeah.
And
she pulls out the code.
She pulls out the code, and she also, the moment when she realizes she doesn't have her phone is because she recorded that conversation with Tobey, and it's on her phone, and whoever has her phone is going to hear it. I mean, he didn't speak the code, but
he said give something to
and he
Mimi,
says
and
protect Mimi at all costs. So whoever has that phone knows that they're going to be maybe moving Mimi. I mean, it puts them all.
Inga
at risk.
should also be disappearing. There is a screenshot.
Because now her whole family is probably under threat.
There's a screenshot that you can make out the code, and I will put it on cyborgvsrobot.com.
Yeah,
and with the episode.
Thank you for Facebook messaging me that code at midnight or whatever. Or was it this morning?
Like 1 in the morning.
I got this little ding message on my phone, and it's just this bit of code.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sleeping.
all you needed. If you do not turn your phone off, that is not my problem. So, unless we've missed something, I think
we didn't. Our closing scene. Which
beyond that,
is back at the. Well, let's.
No, there's nothing else. Nothing else, which is great. We're only a little bit beyond where we want to be for time. How fantastic is that?
Maybe it's going to be a short episode.
So, to end the episode, we go back where we started in Roger's house. Well, Roger's house.
Exactly. In this moment, Malta has been freaking out, puking in the sink. He rushes out of the house and drives away.
Well, did we get the...
why? Okay, back it up.
Back it up a little bit because Malta has walked in to see Bugs
Bunny!
Bugs Bunny. Start this over. Malta, backing up, has walked in to see Bea plugged in, and this whole scene of Roger and Bea having morning breakfast. And...
Morning breakfast.
As opposed to afternoon breakfast.
When you have wine at the breakfast table.
I'm thinking of hobbits. And Malta pukes again. Whether this is Bea is smiling while Malta is puking in the sink. So I suspect that Bea has added something to his vodka. And as Malta's ready to leave, and Niska and Fred and Marilyn
and Gordon all come upstairs
from the cellar, and Malta freaks out. Fred tries to placate him a little bit. That does not work. No. Bea says, "These are my friends, and didn't you say we should always take care of our friends?"
Yeah,
to
just
Roger.
like you said we should take care of our friends.
Malta makes a run for it, tears out of the house, gets in his car, drives off, and Niska says the final line of the scene, which is, "Welcome to our home," to Roger. So it is no longer Roger's home.
It is everyone's. It is all in the family.
And they have this over-the-shoulder shot between Niska and I think Fred, maybe.
And Roger pulls
tightens his
robe around his chest.
He's feeling a little vulnerable. We've seen him when confronted with these sorts of things. He gets meek fast.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
so
it ends there.
We have 2 episodes left.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe the season's almost done.
It's pretty exciting.
What? Do you have any speculations?
Well, we've now know that Carl has found his code, although Ova has it on his person or in his desk drawer or wherever he put
his keychain.
We don't really know. I don't think Teresa and Rick are gonna factor in too much.
Yeah, I think Rick will either leave and or he's gonna get recycled. Actually, no, I don't know.
And we'll see what happens with the Tobey romance. Although I suspect his romance will not continue with Anita beyond this season.
Yeah.
I like how they're finally using Matilda. Mm-hmm. Sophia is not appearing
saw
so
her,
much.
and I mean, she was getting a bedtime story, so she's kicking around.
But let's save some of the speculation for later episodes, because we got 2 more to go.
We have 2 more to go.
Very exciting.
Yeah. You can tweet us at Cyborg versus Robot.
Yeah, that's probably the best. That's probably the place where most of our stuff is happening.
That is. And that's where we post the most things and the most extra things. cyborgversusrobot.com, Facebook, Tumblr.
Yeah. And at cyborgversusrobot.com, I'm going to put up a separate post with the magazine issues that I talked about. So they won't be lost in the Twitter feed forever.
Nice.
Or Tumblr or wherever I put them.
Yeah.
And, I think that's it. You're very far away from the mic. Your water is beside you.
I know I'm far away from the mic. I'm just going to let you talk, and I'm going to lie down.
No dice.